It was a gray day, typical of winter in New York, when Emma decided to extend her rounds beyond the usual. The biting wind seemed to cut through heavy coats, and snow began to accumulate on the sidewalks, creating a melancholic landscape. Determined as always, Emma distributed hot soups and blankets to the homeless she encountered. Turning the corner of a narrow, little-traveled street, she spotted a man huddled against the wall of an old building. He was covered with a tattered blanket and seemed oblivious to the world around him. The distant look and scruffy beard contrasted with the tranquility emanating from his posture. Emma felt a pang of compassion and decided to approach. "Hi, I'm Emma," she said with a warm smile, trying to offer some comfort. The man slowly raised his eyes, and for a moment, they stared at each other in silence. "I have some hot soup, would you like some?" The man hesitated but eventually nodded. Emma sat next to him, extending a cup of soup. "What's your name?" she asked softly, trying to start a conversation. "Jack," he replied, his voice hoarse and almost inaudible. As they talked, Emma discovered that Jack was a man of few words, but each word he said was laden with deep sadness. He spoke of the hard days on the streets, the cold and lonely nights, and the constant struggle for survival. There was something about Jack that intrigued Emma, a sense that there was much more behind that seemingly ordinary man. Gradually, Jack began to open up a bit more. "I didn't always live like this," he said, looking into the distance as if reliving painful memories. Emma listened attentively, feeling she was only scratching the surface of a much larger story. Despite the hardships he faced, Jack demonstrated a dignity that impressed Emma. He refused any charity he couldn't repay in some way, offering to help at the shelter whenever possible. It was clear that behind that worn facade was a man of character and integrity. The sun began to set, and the cold intensified. Emma knew she needed to return to the community center, but something kept her from leaving Jack. "If you need help, you can always find me at the community center on 5th Avenue, she said, handing him a card with her phone number. Emma Thompson, a 28-year-old woman, woke up every morning with a clear purpose: to make a difference. Her passion for helping others guided her to a career in social work, where she quickly stood out for her tireless dedication and genuine empathy. Working in the poorest neighborhoods of New York, Emma was known for her ability to connect with those society preferred to ignore. In her small, cozy apartment in Brooklyn, Emma started her day with a cup of strong coffee, while reviewing the notes of the cases she followed. Photographs of smiling children and reunited families decorated her walls, reminding her of the lives she had already impacted. For her, each day was a new opportunity to bring hope and change stories. Emma drove her old car through the busy streets of the city, observing people with a keen and compassionate eye. She knew every alley and shelter, every corner where the needy gathered. For her, these streets were like pages of a book that she read carefully, always looking for a new way to help. Her office, a modest space within a community center, was a refuge for many. There, Emma attended to desperate single mothers, at-risk children, and homeless people looking for a second chance. With patience, she listened to their stories, offered solutions, and most importantly, gave them hope. Emma believed that every person had intrinsic value, regardless of their circumstances. This was what set her apart: the ability to see beyond rough surfaces and find the hidden humanity in everyone. And it was this belief that led her to an encounter that would change her life forever. On a cold winter day, while distributing hot meals at a shelter, Emma met Jack. With a lost look and an unkempt beard, he seemed like just another face in the crowd of the needy. However, something about him caught her attention, a depth in his eyes that she couldn't ignore. Without hesitation, Emma approached. "Hi, I'm Emma. Would you like to talk a bit?" Jack looked up, surprised by the unexpected kindness. From that moment on, a simple interaction planted the seed of a story she could never have predicted. Weeks passed, and the snow melted under the timid warmth of spring. Emma continued her rounds, always thinking of Jack. She hadn't seen him since that encounter, but the memory of his eyes, full of untold stories, remained vivid. And then, one April afternoon, the unexpected happened. While working at the community center, Emma heard a buzz among the volunteers. "Someone is looking for you, Emma," said a colleague, pointing to the entrance. Emma turned and saw Jack standing there, a little hesitant but with a determined look. He was cleaner and looked a bit stronger than the last time they met. "Jack, it's so good to see you," exclaimed Emma, approaching with a warm smile. Jack smiled back, a shy but genuine smile. I didn't know where else to go," he confessed. "I think I need help." Emma took Jack to a private room where he shared more about his situation. He had lost his documents, had no family or friends to turn to, and was struggling to find a job. Emma, with her characteristic empathy, felt an urgency to help him more than ever. She managed to arrange a consultation with a free legal service to help him recover his documents and enrolled him in a rehabilitation program that offered temporary shelter and reintegration assistance. During this process, Emma and Jack spent more time together, and their trust grew. One day, while they were in the center's cafeteria, Jack asked Emma, "Why do you do this? Why do you care so much about people like me?" Emma paused for a moment, thoughtful. "Because I believe everyone deserves a second chance, Jack. No matter what happened in the past, everyone has the right to start over." Emma's words touched Jack deeply. He realized that for the first time in a long time, someone believed in him, saw his value beyond appearances. This realization began to transform Jack. He started actively participating in the center's activities, helping others in similar situations, and showing a renewed determination to rebuild his life. One sunny afternoon, while Emma was organizing documents, Jack appeared with a smile that lit up his face. "I got a job," he announced, with a mixture of pride and disbelief. Emma jumped for joy and hugged him, feeling as if a personal victory had been achieved. It was at that moment that something unexpected happened. A spark, an inexplicable connection, blossomed between them, a closeness that went beyond simple gratitude or friendship. They realized that their lives were intertwined in a way that they could no longer ignore. Months passed, and spring gave way to the stifling heat of summer. Emma and Jack continued to build a deep connection, based on trust and mutual respect. Jack was working and beginning to rebuild his life with Emma's tireless help, but fate, with its capricious ways, had something surprising in store for her. It was on a sunny June morning that Emma noticed something different. She felt exhausted, more than usual, and nauseous for no apparent reason. Initially, she thought it was just the stress of work and long hours at the community center. But when the symptoms persisted, she decided to take a pregnancy test. Emma sat in her apartment bathroom, her heart racing as she waited for the result. When she finally looked at the test, her world seemed to stop for a moment. Positive. She was pregnant. Thousands of thoughts ran through her mind like a whirlwind. She tried to process the news, her head spinning with questions and uncertainties. The father was Jack, the man whose life she had helped rebuild. How would he react? How would the society around her, which already judged her for her work with the homeless, react to this news? Determined to be honest, Emma arranged to meet Jack at the park where they often met to talk. Sitting on a shaded bench, Emma took Jack's hand, feeling the nervousness grow in her chest. "Jack, I need to tell you something important," she began, her voice trembling. Jack looked at her with concern and curiosity. "I'm pregnant." For a moment, silence hung between them. Jack was stunned, clearly surprised. "Pregnant?" he repeated, as if trying to fully understand what it meant. Emma nodded, her eyes fixed on his, searching for any sign of reaction. Jack took a moment to process the news. I don't know what to say," he admitted finally. "But I know you are the most amazing person I've ever met, and if you're pregnant with my child, then I'll do everything I can to be by your side." Emma felt a wave of relief mixed with emotion. Jack was willing to face this challenge with her. But this was just the beginning. As the news of her pregnancy began to spread, Emma faced disapproving looks and malicious whispers wherever she went. Colleagues and acquaintances judged her, questioning her choices and character. However, Emma remained steadfast. She knew Jack was more than appearances suggested. There was something in him, a depth and a story she still didn't fully know. As the pregnancy progressed, Emma began to investigate more about Jack's past, determined to discover what he was hiding. It was then that she began to piece together a complex puzzle. Old documents, casual conversations, and even clues that Jack unknowingly left behind. Each discovery led Emma to an even more shocking revelation. Jack was not just a homeless man. He had a past linked to a powerful and influential family in the city. The truth slowly unfolded before Emma. Jack was the missing heir of one of the city's wealthiest and most respected families, a victim of a plot to steal his inheritance and throw him onto the streets. The news of Emma's pregnancy spread quickly through the community, like wildfire in a dry prairie. In a neighborhood where rumors and gossip were common, it didn't take long for people to start talking. Emma, the dedicated social worker, pregnant by a homeless man? For many, this was scandalous and unthinkable. At the community center, where Emma had built a career based on compassion and respect, reactions were varied. Some colleagues silently supported her, but most looked at her with distrust and contempt. Whispered conversations and disapproving glances became part of her daily life. It was as if, suddenly, she had become a stranger in her own environment. One afternoon, while Emma was organizing documents at the center, she heard two colleagues talking near the coffee machine. "Did you hear about Emma? Pregnant by a homeless man. What an example, huh?" said one of them with a tone of disdain. "I always thought she got too involved with these cases," replied the other. "But this? It's too much." Emma felt a lump form in her throat but kept her head held high. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but the strength of her character would not let her be discouraged. She was determined to move forward, no matter what others thought. In the neighborhood where she lived, the situation was no different. Her neighbors, who used to greet her warmly, now avoided her. Friendly conversations at the local bakery were replaced by uncomfortable silences and furtive glances. Emma felt the weight of judgment at every corner, in every look. One morning, while buying fruit at the market, she ran into Mrs. Patterson, an elderly neighbor who had always been kind to her. "Emma, dear," began Mrs. Patterson with a worried expression, "I heard about your situation. People are talking, you know. They're saying terrible things." Emma smiled sadly. "I know, Mrs. Patterson, but I can't change what happened. I can only move forward and do the best for me and my baby." Mrs. Patterson squeezed Emma's hand affectionately. "You're a good girl, Emma. Don't let them bring you down. You have a strong heart, and that's what matters." Despite the occasional support, most interactions were challenging. One day, while Emma was coming home from work, she encountered a group of teenagers at the entrance of her building. "Hey, look, it's the girl who fell in love with a bum," shouted one of them, laughing. Another added, "You really hit rock bottom, huh?" Emma took a deep breath and kept walking, trying to ignore the taunts. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she refused to let fear and shame dominate her. The truth was that, no matter how painful others' judgment was, she believed in what she was doing. She knew Jack was more than he appeared, and that conviction strengthened her. As the pregnancy progressed, Emma felt the life growing inside her, a life that filled her with hope and determination. The world around her might be steeped in prejudice and ignorance, but within her, there was a flame of love and purpose that no amount of judgment could extinguish. Despite the constant pressure and judging looks, Emma felt something that few could understand, a silent but unshakable certainty about Jack. While everyone around her saw only a homeless man, Emma saw a complexity that intrigued her more and more. It was as if something deep inside her whispered that there was a greater truth behind that worn facade. On a quiet night, Emma found herself reflecting on everything while sitting in the living room chair, stroking her already pronounced belly. The moonlight streamed through the windows, casting soft shadows on the walls. She picked up the diary where she wrote her thoughts and began to scribble. "Why do I feel that Jack is more than he appears? Something in his eyes, his careful words, the silent dignity with which he faces each day. I can't ignore this feeling that he carries a deep secret, a past that doesn't match his current situation." Emma's words in the diary were a reflection of her innermost convictions. She knew there was more to the man she met on the streets that winter day, and this intuition guided her, like an internal compass, through the difficulties and judgments she faced. One morning, Emma decided to visit Jack at his new job, a small neighborhood cafe that had given him a chance. When she entered, she saw Jack behind the counter, serving coffee with a quiet efficiency. He looked different, more confident, more at peace. Emma smiled as she saw him like that, a shine of pride in her eyes. "Emma!" Jack exclaimed when he saw her, a sincere smile lighting up his face. "What brings you here so early?" "I wanted to see how you are," Emma replied, approaching the counter, "and see how this famous coffee that everyone is talking about tastes." Jack laughed, and for a moment they just looked at each other, enjoying each other's company. "I'm doing well," Jack finally said. "Thanks to you. I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for me." "You don't need to thank me, Jack," Emma said, holding his hand for a moment. "I'm here because I believe in you. I always believed." Jack looked at Emma with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, a silent recognition of the bond they shared. "I believe in you too, Emma," he said softly, "and I'll prove that this faith is not in vain." As the pregnancy advanced, Emma continued to feel this inexplicable connection with Jack. During one of their conversations, he began to open up more about his past, though still vaguely. "I wasn't always like this, Emma," he said, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "There was a time when I had everything, a family, a comfortable life. But something happened, something that took everything from me." Emma listened attentively, each of his words reinforcing her conviction. "You don't need to tell everything now, Jack," she said gently. "When you're ready, I'll be here to listen. But know that no matter what happened, I'm by your side." The nights when Emma lay down, stroking her belly, were filled with thoughts about the future. She knew the journey ahead would be challenging, but her heart was firm. The conviction she felt about Jack was unshakable, like a rock in the midst of a storm. As the days turned into weeks and Emma's belly grew, she couldn't ignore the growing curiosity about Jack's past. There were so many unanswered questions, so many mysteries shrouded in his silent words. She decided it was time to start uncovering the secrets he hid, not just for herself, but for the future of their child. One afternoon, after an ultrasound session where she heard the baby's heartbeat, Emma felt a renewed urgency to discover the truth. Jack had vaguely mentioned a previous life, about losses he had suffered. That kept echoing in her mind. She began to investigate discreetly, using her skills and contacts at the community center to look for any clues that could lead to Jack's past. It was on one of those afternoons, while Emma was organizing old documents, that she found a clue. A yellowed newspaper clipping, hidden among piles of papers. Missing heir. Mystery surrounds the disappearance of Jonathan Reed, son of the Reed family. Emma felt her heart race as she read the name. Jonathan Reed. Could it be Jack? With the clipping in hand, Emma decided to confront Jack with the discovery. That night, she met him at his apartment, a small and modest space he was beginning to call home. "Jack, I need to talk to you about something important," Emma began, her voice calm but firm. Jack looked at her, intrigued. "Sure, Emma. What happened?" She handed him the newspaper clipping, watching his reaction closely. Jack took the paper with trembling hands, his eyes widening as he read. "Jonathan Reed," he murmured, almost to himself. The silence that followed was dense, loaded with memories and emotions. "It's you, isn't it?" Emma asked softly. "You are Jonathan Reed." Jack sighed deeply, as if he had been carrying the weight of this secret for a long time. "Yes, I am," he confessed, his voice full of sadness and resignation. "I was Jonathan Reed, but that life was taken from me." Emma sat next to him, holding his hand. "Tell me everything, Jack. I want to understand." And so, he began to tell his story. Jack, or rather Jonathan Reed, was born into one of the city's wealthiest and most influential families. He had everything: a life of luxury, a privileged education, a promising future. But everything changed when he discovered a corruption scheme within the family business, something that involved his own father. "I confronted my father," Jack said, his voice full of pain as he recalled the past. "And he told me to forget what I discovered. When I refused, I was disowned. They threw me onto the streets with nothing. My name was erased from the records. To the world, I disappeared." Emma listened in silence, her heart aching for the injustice and cruelty Jack had faced. "How did you survive all this time?" she asked, feeling a new admiration for him. "It was hard," Jack admitted. "I had to learn to live on the streets to defend myself. I spent years trying to find a way to prove who I really was, but every attempt was thwarted by those who wanted to keep me out of the picture." Emma felt a growing anger against those who had done this to Jack, but also an even greater determination to help him reclaim his identity. "We will do this together, Jack," she said firmly. "We will bring the truth to light and seek justice." With this new resolution, Emma and Jack began working together to unearth more secrets of the Reed family. They knew it would be a difficult battle, facing not only the power and influence of the family, but also the dangers that would come with the truth. But now, with Jack's story revealed, they had a new hope, a new strength to fight. The discovery that Jack was actually Jonathan Reed, the missing heir of one of the city's most powerful families, changed everything. The revelation added a layer of urgency and danger to Emma and Jack's lives. They knew the truth about his past needed to come to light, but they also knew they would face immense resistance. The morning after the big revelation, Emma and Jack began to plan their next steps. Jack was determined to reclaim his identity and expose the dark secrets of the Reed family. Emma, with her unwavering conviction, was by his side, ready to face any challenge. Their first step was to gather evidence. Jack remembered an old family friend, Robert, who might have valuable information. Robert was a retired lawyer, a man of integrity who always had a special fondness for Jonathan. They decided to seek him out, hoping he could help gather evidence against the Reeds. When they arrived at Robert's house, a modest residence on the outskirts of the city, they were greeted with a look of surprise and joy. "Jonathan, I can't believe it's you," exclaimed Robert, hugging Jack tightly. "Where have you been all these years?" Jack told Robert everything that had happened, from the plot that threw him onto the streets to his life as Jack, the homeless man. Robert listened attentively, his face grave as he absorbed the story. "I always knew something was wrong with the way things happened," he finally said. "But I could never prove anything. We need to act carefully." Robert agreed to help, offering his contacts and legal knowledge to build a solid case. "We need concrete evidence, something they can't refute," he explained. "And we need to find allies, people who are willing to stand up against the Reed family." The search for evidence took them to unexpected places. They found former Reed employees who were willing to speak, people who had seen suspicious things and were tired of the silence imposed by fear. Each testimony was a crucial piece of the puzzle, bringing them closer and closer to the truth. Meanwhile, Emma continued to work at the community center, where some of her colleagues still treated her with disdain. But she was not discouraged. Each day was a new opportunity to gather information and plan the next step. Her determination was fueled by the certainty that they were on the right path. One night, while Jack and Emma were reviewing old documents in his small living room, they found a letter that would change the course of their investigation. It was a letter written by Jonathan's mother, hidden among personal belongings Jack had managed to rescue before being thrown onto the streets. In the letter, she mentioned a diary where she had recorded everything she knew about the corruption scheme and the plot against Jonathan. "We need to find this diary," Jack said, his voice full of emotion. "My mother always said she kept her most precious things in a secret safe in the old house." The old Reed family house, now occupied by Jack's father and his accomplices, was a place full of secrets. Emma and Jack knew that breaking into the house and finding the diary would be dangerous, but it was also the key to exposing the truth. They devised a careful plan. Using the cover of night, Jack and Emma infiltrated the Reed property. Emma's heart raced as they crossed the dark gardens, feeling the adrenaline with each step. They knew they were risking everything, but the reward was too great to ignore. Inside the house, every shadow seemed like a spy, every sound an imminent alarm. Finally, they found the hidden safe in Jack's mother's office. With trembling hands, Jack entered the combination he vaguely remembered. The safe opened with a click, revealing the old and dusty diary. Emma held the diary as if it were an invaluable treasure. "This is everything," she said, her eyes shining. "With this, we can prove everything." As they left the house, they knew the real confrontation was just beginning. With the diary in hand, they had the final piece they needed to unmask the Reed family and restore Jack's identity. The coming weeks would be intense, full of revelations, confrontations, and finally justice. The discovery of his mother's diary brought a new sense of urgency to Jack and Emma. Each page they turned revealed long-buried secrets, exposing the extent of the corruption and betrayal that had unraveled Jack's life. The diary contained irrefutable evidence that Jack, or Jonathan Reed, was the legitimate heir to one of the city's greatest fortunes. With the diary in hand, Jack and Emma knew it was time to confront those who had orchestrated his disappearance. The first step was to make the truth public. Robert, the old family friend and lawyer, helped them organize a press conference. It was a huge risk, but also the only way to ensure Jack's story was heard. On the morning of the press conference, the hotel hall was packed with journalists and cameras. The air was charged with anticipation and curiosity. Emma stood beside Jack, holding his hand and feeling his strength and determination through that simple touch. Jack took a deep breath and with a firm step walked to the podium. "My name is Jonathan Reed," he began, his voice firm but laden with emotion. "I was declared missing years ago, but the truth is I was a victim of a conspiracy to steal my inheritance and destroy my life. Today, with irrefutable evidence in hand, I am here to reclaim my name and my dignity." The camera flashes momentarily blinded him, but he stood firm, handing out copies of the diary and other documents to the journalists. "This diary, written by my mother, contains all the necessary evidence to expose the corrupt actions of my father and his accomplices. It is time for the truth to be revealed." The reaction was immediate and explosive. The news spread quickly, and the city was rocked by the shocking revelation. The missing heir of the Reeds was alive, and his return promised to unearth scandals that many would prefer to keep buried. But Jack knew the fight was far from over. He needed to face his family directly. With Emma and Robert by his side, he prepared to confront his father, Richard Reed, the man who had destroyed his life. The Reed mansion, imposing and cold, was a symbol of the family's power and influence. When Jack and Emma arrived, they were met by security, but the media presence and the frenzy around the story forced the family to allow them in. Inside the mansion, Richard Reed waited, his face a mask of contained fury. "What do you think you are doing, Jonathan?" His voice dripped with contempt. "You have nothing here. You are nothing." Jack took a deep breath, facing his father's icy gaze. "I am here to reclaim what is rightfully mine," he said, his voice firm. "You tried to destroy me, but you failed. The truth is on my side, and I won't stop until everyone knows what you did." Richard laughed, a dry and bitter sound. "Do you think you can just appear and demand everything back? The world doesn't work that way, Jonathan." "Maybe it doesn't work that way for you, father," Jack responded, his voice full of determination. "But the truth always finds a way to come out. And now, with the evidence I have, I will ensure that justice is done." The tension in the room was palpable. Emma, beside Jack, felt a deep pride for the courageous man he had become. She knew the battle was just beginning, but she also knew Jack was ready to face any obstacle. In the following days, Jack's story dominated the headlines. Public opinion was on his side, and the pressure on Richard Reed and his accomplices increased daily. Investigations were launched, and the evidence from his mother's diary proved devastating. With each new revelation, the truth about the conspiracy that had unraveled Jack's life became clearer. The city, once controlled by the fear and power of the Reeds, began to rally in support of the heir who had returned to reclaim his place. As the truth about Jack, or rather Jonathan Reed, spread through the city, the impact on the Reed family was devastating. The carefully built reputation of Richard Reed began to crumble, and family intrigues surfaced with fierce intensity. Every family member had secrets, hidden alliances and betrayals now exposed to the light of day. In the Reed mansion, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Richard, the patriarch, was furious and determined to maintain his control over the family and the business. But there were more players in this dangerous game. Margaret, Jack's stepmother, who always had a cold relationship with him, now revealed herself to be a much more manipulative figure than he ever imagined. "Richard, we need to control this situation," said Margaret, her voice low and venomous. "Jonathan cannot simply return and destroy everything we've built." Richard, his face contorted with rage, replied, "You think I don't know that? But he has evidence and the media is on his side. We need a plan." Meanwhile, across the city, Emma and Jack continued to gather support. Robert, the lawyer friend, was tirelessly working to build a solid legal case. Every step was crucial, and they knew the Reeds would not back down easily. It was one of those nights, while Emma and Jack were reviewing documents in their living room, that they received an unexpected visit. The doorbell rang, and when Emma opened the door, she found a young, elegant woman with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "Can I help you?" asked Emma, a bit hesitant. "My name is Catherine Reed," said the woman, revealing herself to be Jack's half-sister. "We need to talk." Jack, hearing the name, quickly got up. "Catherine, what are you doing here?" Catherine entered, her eyes full of concern. "Jonathan, I always knew something was wrong. I always felt there was a hidden truth, but I never had the courage to confront my father. Now that you're back, maybe we can do this together." Jack looked at Catherine, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. "Are you willing to face our father? Do you know what that means?" "Yes, I know," Catherine replied with unexpected firmness, "but we cannot let him continue destroying lives. We cannot let him win." With Catherine's alliance, Jack and Emma gained new strength. Catherine brought valuable inside information, revealing Richard and Margaret's schemes and maneuvers. She knew where the secrets were hidden, where the illegal transactions had been made. The battle, however, would not be easy. Richard, discovering Catherine's betrayal, intensified his actions. He used his influence to pressure allies, threaten witnesses, and try to destabilize Jack and Emma. The tension increased daily, and the danger was real. One night, while Emma was coming back from the community center, she noticed she was being followed. Her heart raced and she felt the fear growing. She quickened her pace, but the footsteps behind her also increased. She turned a corner and, finding a small store open, quickly entered. "Are you okay, miss?" asked the store owner, an elderly man with a concerned look. "Yes, I need to wait a bit," Emma said, trying to control her breathing. She looked out the window and saw a suspicious-looking man passing by, looking in all directions. When she finally felt safe, Emma left the store and ran home. Upon arriving, she told Jack what had happened. "They're trying to intimidate us," he said, his face hardening with determination. "But we won't give in. We're so close to the truth." The following days were pure adrenaline. Emma and Jack, now with Catherine by their side, faced each challenge with courage. They knew that each step forward was a victory, even if small. Public support grew, and each new revelation about Richard and Margaret's actions increased the pressure on them. The legal battle was about to begin, and with solid evidence and strong testimonies, Jack was confident. "We will bring justice," he said to Emma one night, while looking at the city from the top of a building. "We will do this not just for us, but for all the people who suffered because of them." Emma smiled, holding Jack's hand. "We are in this together," she replied. "And no matter what happens, we will never be alone." With Catherine's alliance and growing public support, Jack and Emma were more determined than ever to reveal the whole truth. The evidence collected so far was compelling, but there were still gaps that needed to be filled. Each day brought new discoveries, and each discovery brought them closer to justice. One morning, while Emma was having coffee in her apartment kitchen, her phone rang. It was Robert, the lawyer. "Emma, we have a new lead. We need to find a man named Edward. He was the Reed family's accountant for years. It seems he knows something crucial." Emma immediately told Jack, and together they set out to find Edward. They found him in a small house in the suburbs, an elderly man with a fragile appearance, but with eyes that sparkled with the sharpness of someone who had seen it all. "Mr. Edward," Jack began, trying to be as respectful as possible, "we know you worked for my family, and we need your help to expose the truth. You know what happened to me, you know about my father's schemes. Please help us." Edward looked at Jack, his eyes reflecting a mix of pity and recognition. "Jonathan, I always knew you weren't dead. What happened to you was a great injustice, and I think it's time to correct that." He invited them in, and the conversation that followed revealed secrets kept for decades. Edward spoke about fraudulent transactions, bribes, and money laundering. He explained how Richard Reed had manipulated the company's finances to divert millions, and how Jonathan's discovery threatened to expose everything. "When you found the secret books," Edward said, Richard panicked. "He knew he needed to get rid of you. I didn't know he would go that far." With the information provided by Edward, Jack and Emma had the final piece of the puzzle. Detailed documents showed the money trail, revealing a network of corruption involving politicians, businessmen, and even law enforcement. It was an intricate scheme, but now, with the evidence in hand, they had the power to expose everything. They decided to take the evidence directly to the district attorney. Emma, Jack, Catherine, and Robert gathered in the DA's office, their hands trembling with nervousness and excitement. The district attorney, a robust man with a serious demeanor, listened attentively as they presented their findings. "This is serious," said the district attorney, flipping through the documents. "If what you are saying is true, we are talking about one of the largest financial frauds in this city's history. I will need time to review all this, but I promise we will investigate thoroughly." While waiting for the official response, the pressure mounted. Richard Reed, realizing he was cornered, began to use all his connections to try to destabilize Jack and Emma. Threatening phone calls, attempts at bribery, and even an attempt to intimidate Catherine surfaced. One night, while Jack and Emma were at home, the phone rang. It was Catherine, her voice full of panic. "Jonathan, someone tried to follow me home. I think they are trying to scare us." Jack felt the anger boil inside him but remained calm. "We won't give in. They know we are close to exposing everything. We need to protect ourselves and stay strong." The tension reached its peak the following week, when the district attorney called a press conference to announce the start of formal investigations against Richard Reed and his accomplices. The city was in turmoil, and the news dominated the headlines. On the day of the conference, Jack, Emma, and Catherine were present, sitting in the front row. The district attorney stepped up to the podium, adjusted the microphone, and began to speak. "Today, we begin an investigation that could change the course of justice in our city. The evidence presented by Jonathan Reed and his allies is compelling, and I promise no one will be above the law." The room erupted in applause, and Emma felt a wave of relief and emotion. She looked at Jack, who had tears in his eyes but also a triumphant smile. Catherine squeezed Jack's hand, whispering, "We're almost there." With the investigations underway, Richard Reed and his associates began to feel the noose tightening. It was a hard-fought battle, but each legal victory, each new revelation, brought Jack and Emma closer to justice. With the investigations against Richard Reed in full swing, the tension in the city was at a fever pitch. The secrets of the powerful Reed family were being exposed one by one, and the fight for power was more fierce than ever. Jack, Emma, Catherine, and Robert knew that every move counted, and every decision could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Richard, realizing his empire was crumbling, became more dangerous. He was not willing to lose everything he had built, even if it meant resorting to extreme measures. The legal and media battle intensified daily, with accusations and counter-accusations flying from all sides. One morning, while Jack and Emma were having coffee in a small bistro, Jack's phone rang. It was Robert, with an urgency in his voice that immediately caught Jack's attention. "Jack, you need to come to my office now. There's something you need to see." When they arrived at Robert's office, they found him sitting at his desk, a grave expression on his face. "I received this letter this morning," he said, pushing an envelope towards Jack. It's a bribe attempt from Richard. He's trying to buy our silence. Jack opened the letter, and its contents made his blood boil. Richard was offering an astronomical amount for Jack to drop the case and disappear again. He thinks he can resolve everything with money, Jack said, his voice full of disdain. But we won't sell out. We're too close to the truth. Emma, beside Jack, felt a mix of anger and determination. This only shows that we're on the right path, she said, squeezing Jack's hand. We need to stay firm. Meanwhile, Richard was plotting his own plans. He gathered his most loyal allies in a secret meeting, a group composed of powerful city figures, politicians, businessmen, and even members of the police force. We need to crush Jonathan and his allies once and for all, Richard said, his voice dripping with venom. They are threatening everything we've built. One of the figures, an influential senator, spoke. We're with you, Richard, but we need to be careful. Any wrong move could expose us too. Then we'll do everything in secret, Richard responded, at any cost. While the conspiracy unfolded, Jack and Emma worked tirelessly with Robert and Catherine to strengthen their case. Each document, each testimony was a vital piece of the puzzle they were assembling. They knew the legal battle would be arduous, but they were prepared to fight to the end. On the day of the first court hearing, the tension was palpable. The courtroom was filled with journalists, onlookers, and supporters from both sides. Jack, dressed in a suit that reflected his new determination, walked to the defendant's bench with Emma by his side, radiating strength and confidence. The judge entered the room and the murmur ceased. We are here today to hear the charges against Richard Reed and his associates, he said. Is the prosecution ready to present its case? Robert stood up, an imposing figure of confidence and skill. Yes, Your Honor. We are ready. As Robert presented the meticulously gathered evidence, Jack looked at Richard, sitting across the room. His father's face was rigid, but his eyes showed a burning rage. Jack knew that this battle was not just about justice, but also about revenge and redemption. In the following days, witnesses began to testify. Former Reed employees, people who had been bought and silenced, now spoke the truth. Edward, the old accountant, was one of the key pieces, confirming the fraudulent transactions and money laundering schemes. But Richard did not surrender easily. His highly paid and ruthless lawyers did everything to discredit the witnesses, sowing doubt and confusion. The court battle was a complex dance of arguments and counter-arguments, where every word counted. Outside the court, the fight continued. Richard used all available resources to intimidate Jack and Emma, threatening phone calls, sabotage attempts, and even physical attacks. One night, while returning home, Emma was surrounded by two men who tried to scare her. But she did not let herself be shaken. Tell Richard we are not afraid, she said, her voice firm. We will not give up. The pressure on Jack and Emma was immense, but their love and determination kept them strong. They knew they were fighting not just for themselves, but for all who had suffered at the hands of Richard Reed. Each passing day, each small victory brought them closer to justice. Finally, after weeks of intense battle, the day of the verdict arrived. The courtroom was packed, and the silence was absolute as the judge prepared to read the decision. After considering all the evidence and testimonies, this court finds Richard Reed guilty of all charges. The room exploded in applause and murmurs. Jack and Emma embraced, tears of relief and joy streaming down their faces. Catherine, beside them, smiled with a mix of relief and happiness. Justice had prevailed, but they knew the fight was not yet entirely over. Richard still had powerful allies, and rebuilding the lives of all involved would take time. But at that moment, Jack, Emma, and Catherine felt victorious. They had faced darkness and emerged stronger, ready to build a future based on truth and love. The victory in court brought a moment of relief and celebration for Jack, Emma, and Catherine, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter full of challenges. With Richard Reed convicted, the responsibility of rebuilding the Reed Empire and restoring justice fell on Jack. And at this critical moment, Emma's solidarity and strength proved more essential than ever. Right after the verdict, While the camera flashes still captured their emotional expressions, Emma and Jack left the courthouse hand in hand. The city was buzzing with the news, and Jack knew the real work was just beginning. Arriving at their apartment, exhausted, they sat on the couch, letting the silence fill the space as they processed the magnitude of what they had accomplished. "Jack," Emma began, turning to him with a determined expression, "I know we still have a long way to go, but I want you to know that I'm here with you, no matter what. We will rebuild everything together." Jack looked at Emma, feeling a wave of gratitude and love. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said, holding her hand firmly. "You were my strength, my light in the darkness. And I know that, with you by my side, we can face anything." In the days that followed, Emma threw herself into the task of supporting Jack in his new mission. She organized meetings, helped review documents, and took care of the countless details that arose at every step of the process. Her experience as a social worker proved invaluable, bringing a unique perspective and empathy that helped keep everything on track. One afternoon, while reviewing old contracts and financial statements at the kitchen table, Emma had an idea. "Jack, what if we turn part of the family's business into something that really helps the community? We can create foundations, rehabilitation programs, and use our resources to make a difference." Jack paused for a moment, thinking about Emma's words. "You're right," he finally said. "We have the chance to change everything, to transform the Reed legacy into something positive. Let's do it." With this new vision, they began to work on creating the Reed Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping the needy, providing education, and creating opportunities for those who had been forgotten by society. Emma led the efforts, organizing events, finding partners, and inspiring others to join the cause. Meanwhile, Jack faced the monumental task of reorganizing the family business. He knew it would not be easy to gain the trust of employees and business partners, many of whom had been loyal to Richard. But with Emma by his side, he found the strength to move forward. One day, during an important meeting with the company's executives, Emma noticed the tension in the room. Many still doubted Jack's intentions, fearing he would follow in his father's footsteps. Emma stood up and, with a firm voice, spoke to the group. "I know many of you have doubts and concerns, and I understand that. But I want you to know that Jack is not his father. He is an honest man determined to do the right thing. We are here to transform this company into something we can all be proud of, something that truly benefits our community." Emma's words resonated in the room, and she saw looks of consideration and respect emerge among those present. Jack, moved by Emma's unwavering support, silently thanked her with a smile. The months passed, and the Reed Foundation began to take shape. They opened a community center in the heart of the city, offering health, education, and social assistance services. Emma was at the forefront, coordinating every aspect with passion and dedication. One night, while walking through the community center after a long day of work, Jack stopped and looked around. Children played happily, families received support and guidance, and hope seemed to pulse in the air. He turned to Emma, his eyes full of gratitude. "Look what we have achieved, Emma," he said, moved. "All of this is because of you. Your vision, your determination. You turned my dreams into reality." Emma smiled, holding Jack's hand. "We achieved this together, Jack. And this is just the beginning. We still have a lot to do, many lives to change." As Jack and Emma's efforts began to show tangible results, Jack's journey from a despised man on the streets to a redeemed heir became a story of rebirth and resilience. The city, once dominated by the Reed scandals, began to see Jack not just as the legitimate heir, but as a leader dedicated to reconstruction and community service. The Reed Foundation thrived, becoming a symbol of hope. Jack and Emma dedicated themselves tirelessly, and each new project, each impacted life, was a testament to their shared vision. But the path to return to prominence required facing many ghosts of the past and proving, over and over again, that the change was real and sustainable. One sunny morning, Jack was invited to attend a meeting with the company's board of directors. It was a crucial step in restoring confidence in the Reed leadership. Entering the imposing meeting room, He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Emma, as always, was by his side, offering silent and firm support. "Gentlemen," Jack began, his voice firm and clear, "we are here to begin a new era for this company. I know many of you have doubts, but I ask you to look at the results we have already achieved with the Reed Foundation. The same dedication and integrity will be applied here." The board members, many of whom had worked with Richard, observed Jack attentively. One of the directors, an elderly and respected man, spoke. "Jack, your words are inspiring, but we need concrete actions. What do you propose to ensure the company prospers under your leadership?" Jack smiled, prepared for the question. "I propose a complete restructuring of our business, with a renewed focus on sustainability and social responsibility. We will invest in clean technologies, support local small businesses, and ensure our profits benefit the community." Emma, noticing the hesitation of some members, added, "We will also implement transparency and ethical policies to ensure that the kind of corruption we saw in the past never happens again. This is our chance to do something truly meaningful." The meeting was intense, but in the end, most directors began to see Jack's vision as an opportunity for a new beginning. They approved his plan, giving him the chance to prove that the Reed Company could rise from the ashes and lead with integrity. With the board's support, Jack and Emma worked hard to implement their new policies. They hired sustainability experts, promoted employees committed to the vision of change, and began to see the first fruits of their efforts. The Reed Company was slowly, but surely transforming into a model of ethical and responsible business. One night, after a long day of work, Jack and Emma decided to have dinner at a small local restaurant, a quiet place where they could relax and reflect. While waiting for the food, Emma held Jack's hand across the table. "Jack, have you thought about the name of our child?" she asked, her eyes full of curiosity and expectation. Jack smiled, thoughtful. "I have some ideas, but I want to hear yours first." Emma laughed. "How about Grace if it's a girl? And if it's a boy, maybe William, in honor of my grandfather." Jack smiled even more, liking the choices. "Grace and William are beautiful names. I think either one will be perfect." The night continued peacefully, and they talked about their dreams and plans for the future. Jack knew that, despite all the battles they had faced, the real work was just beginning. Building a lasting legacy would require continuous dedication and a clear vision of their goals. While walking back home, holding hands under the soft light of the streetlights, Jack suddenly stopped. "Emma, I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I want you to know that every day with you is a blessing. We are building something incredible, and I can't wait to see where this journey will take us." Emma stopped, turning to him, her eyes full of love. "Jack, together we can face anything. And no matter what the future brings, I know our love and determination will guide us." With the arrival of the baby approaching, Jack and Emma prepared for this new adventure. The house was full of expectations and preparations. The baby's room, painted in soft shades of blue and white, was almost ready, and each detail reflected their love and care. The next morning, Jack and Emma went to the community center for an important meeting. As they walked through the halls, they were greeted with hugs and smiles of gratitude. Each person they encountered was a reminder of the profound impact they were having on the community. During the meeting, a young man stood up to speak. "Jack, Emma, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us. This center has changed my life and the lives of many here. You have given us hope and a new chance. Thank you." Emma felt tears fill her eyes, and Jack held her hand tightly. "Thank you," he said, his voice full of emotion. "We are here for you, and we promise to continue working to make this world a better place." That night, as they prepared for bed, Jack and Emma talked about the future. "We are making a difference, Jack," said Emma softly, "and every challenge we have faced has made us stronger. I'm excited to see what the future holds for us and our baby." Jack embraced her, feeling a deep peace. "Yes, Emma, we are building something wonderful, and with love and determination, there is nothing we cannot achieve." The path to redemption and reconstruction was far from easy. Although Jack and Emma had managed to gain the trust of many, the reality of transforming the Reed Company and keeping the Reed Foundation active presented constant challenges. With each new step, new obstacles arose, testing their determination and resilience. One morning, while Emma was reviewing financial reports in the office, she noticed worrying discrepancies. Some of the funds intended for community programs were disappearing. Emma frowned, feeling a wave of concern. "Jack, we need to talk," she called, getting up and going to Jack's office. Jack, immersed in papers and phone calls, looked up when Emma entered. "What happened?" Emma placed the reports on his desk. "Something is wrong with the foundation's funds. Money is disappearing and I can't trace where it's going. We need to investigate this immediately." Jack looked at the reports, his face hardening. "This cannot be happening. Not after everything we did to ensure transparency. We will find out who is behind this." The internal investigation revealed a network of corruption that had survived Richard's downfall. Loyal employees to him were still infiltrated in the company and the foundation, diverting resources and undermining Jack and Emma's efforts. The discovery was a hard blow, but at the same time a call to action. Jack and Emma, along with Robert and Catherine, formed a team to cleanse the company and the foundation of any trace of corruption. Dismissals were necessary, and some legal proceedings were initiated against those who had betrayed their trust. The fight was arduous, and at times it seemed that for every problem solved, two new ones emerged. In addition to internal issues, there was also external resistance. Competitors in the market, who saw the Reed Company's recovery as a threat, began to play dirty. Defamation campaigns, sabotage attempts, and industrial espionage became a new reality for Jack and Emma. One night, while working late in the office, an explosion shook the building. Alarms blared and smoke began to spread. Jack and Emma ran to evacuate the employees, their hearts pounding frantically. "Someone tried to destroy us," said Jack, while firefighters controlled the fire. This was a message. Emma, her face dirty with soot, looked at the remains of the destroyed office. "They can try to bring us down, but we won't give up. We will rebuild, and we will be stronger than ever." Emma and Jack's determination only grew in the face of adversity. They reinforced security measures, increased transparency in all operations, and continued to work tirelessly to restore trust and integrity in the company and the foundation. Personal challenges were also intense. The constant pressure began to affect Emma's health, who was pregnant. Jack insisted she rest more, but Emma, with her characteristic determination, refused to step away from work. "Emma, you need to think about your health and our baby," Jack said one night, while helping her settle on the couch. "I can't do this without you, but I need you to be well." Emma looked at Jack, her eyes softened by his love and concern. "I know, Jack. I'll try to rest more, but I can't just sit back while there's still so much to be done." They reached an agreement. Emma began to delegate more responsibilities, trusting her team and allowing herself some rest. Jack, in turn, continued to face each new obstacle with the courage and integrity that had become his trademark. One afternoon, while reflecting on everything they had faced, Jack met an old friend from his youth, Michael, who was now an influential businessman. Michael offered to help, providing resources and strategic support. "Jack, I always believed in you," said Michael. "If you need anything, I'm here. Let's transform this company together." With Michael's help and Emma's renewed energy, Jack managed to overcome many of the challenges they faced. The company's operations stabilized, and the Reed Foundation continued to thrive, helping more and more people in the community. Despite the difficulties, Jack and Emma never lost hope. Each obstacle overcome was proof of their resilience and mutual love. They learned that together, they could face any storm, turning adversities into opportunities for growth and strengthening. After months of intense struggles and relentless obstacles, it seemed that each battle prepared them for a crucial moment. Jack and Emma, now stronger and more united than ever, were about to face the final truth that would change the course of their lives forever. One morning, while Emma was at a routine checkup with her obstetrician, Jack received an unexpected call from Robert. "Jack, I need you to come to my office immediately. We discovered something important," said Robert, his voice filled with urgency and mystery. Jack felt a chill down his spine, but knew that any discovery at this moment would be crucial. He left Emma a quick message, informing her about the meeting, and headed to Robert's office. Upon arrival, Robert was waiting with a grave expression. "Jack, you won't believe what we found," he began, showing a series of old documents. These papers were delivered by an anonymous informant. They contain details about transactions involving your father and your mother. Jack frowned. "My mother? I thought she was unaware of all this." Robert shook his head. "It seems there's more to the story than we imagined. These documents suggest your mother knew about your father's schemes, but tried to protect you from all the corruption. She was forced to participate but left clues, perhaps for you to find one day." Jack felt a mix of pain and understanding. "She was trying to protect me all along," Robert continued. "And there's more. These documents also mention a secret account, where your mother hid a significant amount of money, meant for you. She knew you would need it one day to rebuild everything." With Robert's help, Jack located the account and the funds. But more important than the money were the letters from his mother, hidden along with the documents. The letters revealed a side of the story that Jack never knew, full of love, sacrifice, and courage. Jack read one of the letters aloud. "My dear Jonathan, if you are reading this, it means something went wrong and I couldn't protect you as I wanted. Your father is a powerful man, but his thirst for power has corrupted him. I tried my best to keep you away from this, but I knew one day the truth would come out. This money is for you to help rebuild what he destroyed. I know you are strong and just, and I believe you will do the right thing. I always believed in you, my son. Remember that love and truth always prevail. With all my love, Mom." Tears streamed down Jack's face as he read. He finally understood the magnitude of his mother's sacrifice and felt a renewed determination to continue his fight for justice and integrity. When Jack returned home, he found Emma waiting for him. He told her about the discovery, the letters, and the secret account. Emma listened attentively, her eyes shining with the same determination he felt. "Jack, your mother knew how important you would be. She believed in you, and we will continue this fight together, honoring her sacrifice." With the new funds, Jack and Emma managed to further strengthen the Reed Company and the foundation. They invested in new community projects, helping more people and expanding their influence in positive ways. Each step they took was a tribute to Jack's mother and her unshakable faith in her son. The months passed, and Emma's pregnancy progressed healthily. They prepared for the arrival of their child with love and anticipation, knowing that the battles they had fought had prepared them for this new chapter. One sunny morning, Jack and Emma decided to visit the community center, where it all began. They were greeted with smiles and hugs, feeling the warmth and gratitude of the people they had helped. A young woman approached, holding a baby in her arms. "Mr. Reed, Mrs. Reed, I just wanted to thank you. This center saved my life and gave my son a chance. I will be forever grateful." Emma, touched, smiled warmly. "We are here for you, and we will continue to be. Together, we can build a better future." With the sun setting behind them, Jack and Emma felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. They had faced countless obstacles, but their love and determination had guided them through each storm. The future, once uncertain and full of challenges, now seemed full of possibilities and hope. And so, with hearts full of gratitude and love, Jack and Emma embraced, ready to face whatever the future held, knowing that together, they could overcome anything. As Jack and Emma prepared for the arrival of their baby, the excitement and anticipation grew each day. They transformed the baby's room into a haven of love and tranquility, filled with soft colors, plush toys, and little clothes that promised a future of warmth and care. One crisp autumn morning, Emma felt the first contractions. Jack, ever attentive, immediately took her to the hospital. The ride was filled with a mixture of nerves and joy, as they both realized that their lives were about to change forever. At the hospital, the medical team took excellent care of Emma. Jack held her hand through every contraction, whispering words of encouragement and love. Hours passed, and finally the moment arrived. With a final push, their baby entered the world. filling the room with the sound of new life. "It's a girl," announced the doctor, placing the newborn in Emma's arms. Tears streamed down Emma's face as she looked at their daughter, feeling a love she had never known before. Jack, beside her, gazed at their baby with a mixture of awe and overwhelming emotion. "Welcome to the world, Grace," Jack whispered, gently touching her tiny hand. "You are so loved." The days following Grace's birth were a whirlwind of joy and adjustment. Friends and family visited, filling their home with laughter and gifts. Catherine, Jack's sister, became a frequent visitor, offering her support and showering Grace with affection. Despite the sleepless nights and new challenges of parenthood, Jack and Emma felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Each moment with Grace was a reminder of the journey they had taken, the obstacles they had overcome, and the strength of their love. As Grace grew, she became a symbol of hope and new beginnings for everyone around her. The community center, where Emma continued to work tirelessly, welcomed the baby with open arms. Grace's presence brought a renewed sense of purpose to Emma's mission, reinforcing her commitment to helping others. One evening, as the family sat together in their living room, Grace nestled in Jack's arms. Emma looked around and felt a deep sense of peace. "We've come so far, Jack," she said softly, "and this is just the beginning." Grace will grow up knowing that love and determination can change the world. Jack smiled, kissing Grace's forehead. "Yes, Emma, and we will continue to build a better future for her, and for everyone we can help." Their love and dedication to each other, and to their community, continued to guide them through every challenge. With Grace in their lives, they felt an unbreakable bond that would carry them through any storm. The years passed and Grace grew up surrounded by love, wisdom, and the unwavering support of her parents. Jack and Emma's journey, once filled with turmoil and uncertainty, had become a story of redemption, resilience, and the power of love. The Reed Foundation expanded, reaching more communities and transforming countless lives. Emma's dedication to social work inspired many, and she became a respected figure in the field. Jack, with his renewed sense of purpose, led the Reed Company with integrity and a vision for a brighter future. Grace, growing up in an environment rich with compassion and empathy, learned the values of kindness and service from an early age. She often accompanied her parents to the community center, witnessing firsthand the impact of their work. As she grew older, Grace began to take on her own projects, showing the same determination and empathy that defined her parents. One summer, on the anniversary of the community center's opening, a large celebration was held. People from all walks of life gathered to celebrate the progress and positive change that had been achieved. Jack, Emma, and Grace were at the center of it all, their smiles reflecting the joy and fulfillment of their journey. During the celebration, Jack took the stage to address the crowd. "Today, we celebrate not just the achievements of the Reed Foundation, but the spirit of community and the power of coming together to make a difference. This journey has taught us that no matter how dark the past, there is always hope for a brighter future. We are committed to continuing this work, to building a legacy of love and strength." Emma, standing beside Jack, felt a swell of pride. She knew that their journey was far from over, but the foundation they had built was strong. Together, they had turned a story of pain and loss into one of triumph and transformation. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the gathered crowd, Grace joined her parents on stage. With a confident voice, she spoke to the people who had become like family. "My parents have taught me that love and determination can change the world. I promise to carry forward their legacy, to continue the work they started, and to always believe in the power of community." The crowd erupted in applause, their hearts filled with hope and inspiration. Jack and Emma looked at their daughter, knowing that their legacy was in good hands. In the years that followed, the Reed family continued to make a profound impact on the world around them. Grace grew into a compassionate and driven young woman, leading new initiatives and expanding the reach of the Reed Foundation. Jack and Emma, ever supportive, watched with pride as their daughter's passion and dedication shone brightly. Together, they faced each new challenge with the same love and determination that had brought them through the darkest times. Their story, once fraught with hardship, had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond of family. And so the legacy of Jack, Emma, and Grace Reed continued, inspiring generations to come and proving that with love and determination, anything is possible.